So we're walking down the trail here. We've walked close to 880 kilometers, about 550 miles. But suddenly, woo, we've got to the ocean. Check it out, there's the ocean in front of us. We walked across all of Spain and we made it to the sea. Hi, my name is Hank Lucart. You may know me from watching my video To the End of the World about walking the Camino de Santiago. And you're probably watching this because you want to find out more about how to go on and pack for the Camino de Santiago. So I've taken all the stuff that I brought on my Camino de Santiago and put it on this table, and I'm going to walk you through how to pack for this trip. And I'm going to show you how to pack a bag for the Camino de Santiago that weighs less than 10 pounds or 5 kilograms. So the Camino de Santiago is not a wilderness trek. It's not a backcountry adventure. And because of that, that means you don't have to carry very much stuff. You don't need a tent, you don't need a sleeping bag, and you don't even need as many clothes and as much gear as you'd need for a hardcore backcountry trip. And so you can easily get under 10 pounds or 5 kilograms.
So we're in Lyon doing a little shopping, just wandering around some wacky stores filled with everything that you might need. The problem, of course, is that anything that we decide to buy, we need to then carry for 300 miles across the rest of Spain. So, yes, this umbrella seems like it could be useful, but I don't want to carry it for 300 miles.
So first off, the bag I used on the Camino de Santiago is the Osprey Exos. I used the 38-liter bag. This bag has nice hip pockets to put your phone and a good side pocket for putting your water bottle. There's this mesh in the back which keeps you cool during the hot desert days. The hip belt on this bag is fairly minimal, so if you're planning on carrying more weight than I'm showing you here, you might want to consider a bag that's designed for heavier weights. But to be honest, you shouldn't be carrying that much on the Camino de Santiago. You're walking through towns multiple times a day, so you should be carrying very little, and a bag like this, or even one slightly smaller, is perfectly fine. I joke that this is like the official bag of the Camino de Santiago because you'll see so many people carrying this exact bag. Whatever, it's a good bag.
I'm on the way to Pamplona, and I have 3 blisters that are like pressure blisters on the bottom of my feet, and they hurt like crazy. Why am I doing this?
So let's talk about shoes. Shoes are probably the most important piece of your gear for the Camino. I made the mistake, of course, of starting off with more heavy-duty hiking boots on the Camino, which was a huge mistake. The Camino is not a backcountry wilderness trek.
Here's an illustration of one of the worst parts of the Camino. This is one of the worst stages of the whole Camino. It's along a highway into Lyon for the entire time. Trucks are barreling by, there's no respite from it, it's just a big, long slog along a highway, no fun. The Camino is usually pretty great, but this is about the worst possible version of it today.
It has a lot of road walking. You're walking on a lot of concrete and asphalt, and so your feet will quickly get torn apart if you're wearing shoes with very hard soles.
I'm at Logroño, which means 100 miles. I've hiked 100 miles across Spain. So I'm at Planeta Agua in Logroño, and I'm super excited because I've decided to buy new shoes because the boots I've been wearing this whole trip have been just too hard on my feet. So I'm gonna try something new. I'm trying some Salomon trail runners.
I strongly recommend that everyone who does the Camino take a pair of trail runners that are soft and cushy. You want shoes that are super breathable so your feet aren't hot and sweaty all day. And yeah, you want shoes with a little bit of traction. Not every surface you're walking on is going to be road. There's certainly gravel, and there's lots of dirt trail as well. So you want some shoes with traction like trail runners, but you don't need any more than that. So in addition to trail runners, I also brought sandals on the Camino. These are Crocs. They're not the prettiest sandal, but they're super lightweight. These weigh less than a pound or less than half a kilogram. Now, This is a chance to go even lighter weight than me. You probably can just get away without sandals. However, a lot of people like to wear sandals around the albergue at night or after they're done hiking for the day. So having sandals was worth the comfort for me, and it's worth it for a lot of people, but it is a place you can save weight and not bring them. On the flip side, if you're going to make the effort to bring a second pair of shoes, you can also consider bringing sports sandals instead of lightweight Crocs, because then that gives you a second shoe to wear on the Camino if your trail runners are too hot or too uncomfortable on a given day. So if you get a sports sandal like that from Tiva or Chaco's, that can give you a nice sturdy second pair of shoes. I know some people on the Camino who walked almost the entire Camino in sports sandals and they found it super comfortable. So if you're not sure if you want to bring 1 or 2 pairs of shoes, start the Camino with just trail runners. That helps you be super lightweight. And then if you are regretting it, then you can just buy a pair of sports sandals as you're walking in the Camino. That's the great thing about the Camino. You go through lots of towns and cities, so no decision is a bad one. If you decide that you really wish you had sandals halfway through the Camino, just buy them.
So one of the things about the Camino is that you're only carrying enough clothes for 2 or 3 days. So every 2 or 3 days I have to wash everything. And there was big competition for the washing machines, but now I'm going to wash my huge bag of clothes and I'm going to be so clean in the morning. It's super exciting.
Let's talk about the day-to-day walking clothes that you're going to wear. So I brought a single pair of pants. These are Prana brand that zip off. These are great because they're totally synthetic, they dry fast, and they zip off onto shorts. It's going to be hot if you're hiking the Camino during the summer, so a lot of the time you're going to be hiking in shorts, but you have the option to turn these into pants, especially at night when it cools down and you're just walking around the albergue, so these are great. In addition, I brought an extra pair of shorts, which is nice when you're washing your pants. And also, if something happens to your pants, you still have shorts to wear, and you can lounge around in these at night too if you want.
Okay, so I'm here at La Cancela, which is a pretty fancy restaurant in Santo Domingo in Spain, and this is the first real restaurant not eating a pilgrim menu. Look at the food.
I also brought 3 shirts on the Camino. I brought a synthetic, super lightweight t-shirt, and then I brought a synthetic, lightweight button-down shirt that looks a little nicer. It's kind of nice for when you're going out to a restaurant or something at night, but you can still hike in it because it's synthetic and light. And then I also brought 1 synthetic long sleeve shirt, which looks also a little better if you're going out somewhere nicer at night. And if it's a little chilly during the day, you can wear a long sleeve shirt instead of a short sleeve shirt. So I also brought 3 pairs of ex officio boxer briefs. I really like this underwear because it's synthetic, durable, and it's light, but it's not too light. Some ultralight underwear gets scrunched up in bunches and just gets uncomfortable. So I like this weight a lot. And I'm sorry, women, I don't know anything about women's underwear, so you're gonna have to research that on your own. I brought 1 pair of warmer hiking socks. These are Smart Wool socks. And then 2 pairs of a little bit padded synthetic running socks. For the most part, a lot of the Camino is going to be hot and warm in the summer, and so you don't really usually want very hot socks. You want to keep your feet as cool as possible, and so breathable, lightweight synthetic running socks are probably your best bet. Maybe padded a little bit if you find some that are padded to keep your feet comfortable, but you certainly don't want to wear heavy, long socks for the whole Camino. Your feet will get way too hot.
We're in medieval town or Cerebro that looks like something from a movie set, and we're having a great thunderstorm. And it started at 3:08 or something exactly when we walked through this door. It was perfect timing.
You can see huge pieces of hail everywhere.
So in addition to all the walking clothes that I brought to wear every day, I also brought a small amount of gear to deal with weather. So first of all, I brought a very lightweight rain shell. This one's from REI, and it's super lightweight, dries really fast, and breathes really well.
It's the last day of the Camino, and for the first time ever, the weather is bad. It's starting to rain a bit. I put up my rain jacket, which is very exciting because this is really the first time I've ever used any of my rain gear on this trip. So at least it wasn't wasted. Now we're going to the end of the earth.
To be honest, I hiked the Camino in the summer. I think in over 30 days of hiking, it only rained one day. But this also can keep you warm on cool mornings as an extra layer. So it's definitely worth having, and you never know when it's gonna rain, so you definitely need it. I also brought a rain cover for my backpack. You do wanna be able to keep all your gear dry if it does rain, and it weighs almost nothing. I also brought a really light synthetic jacket. This is really thin, really light. But also good for those mornings where it's chilly outside, or if you decide to do any night walking on the Camino. I wouldn't carry anything warmer than this if you're walking in the summer. You could also get some type of smart wool pullover, which would work just as well. But just no, heavy jackets are totally unnecessary if you're walking the Camino in the summer. Especially if it gets very cold, you can always pair this with your rain jacket and you're good to go. But since you're moving all the time and you're walking, you basically never get cold. So in addition to that, I brought a pair of glove liners and a knit hat, which I probably only wore this knit hat a couple of times, and I'm not sure I ever wore glove liners on the Camino because it was so warm during the summer. But since gloves and hat are such an easy way to control your body temperature in case you're very cold, it's worth bringing them, and if you get really chilly, you can throw this on and you'll be fine.
So I'm walking out of Lyon today, and I found a store filled with many wonderful things, including this magical hat. So now I have a new hat to continue on the Camino.
Probably the most important weather gear on the Camino is some type of sun hat. So I started the Camino with just a baseball cap like this, which worked great and keeps the sun off your face and out of your eyes. But once I was walking through the Meseta, which is the hot desert highlands of the Camino, it was very hot, very sunny, and this wasn't quite cutting it. So eventually, at some random store on the Camino, I ended up getting this straw hat, which looks a little silly, but it keeps the sun totally off your neck and completely off your face. If you're worried about fashion, start with the baseball cap, and then if you really want some type of other bigger hat, you can get it along the way. So in addition to a sun hat, I also brought a pair of sunglasses on the Camino. It's super sunny, especially when you're hiking through the Meseta desert. And so you'll be really happy to have sunglasses with you. I bring a lightweight sunglasses case in addition to my sunglasses because I'm a completely irresponsible human being and I break sunglasses on every trip I go on. So to try to avoid that, I bring a case. But if you're a very responsible human being, you may be able to get away without the extra weight of a sunglasses case.
I'm staying at this fancy hotel in Burgos. What's the best thing, you ask? The answer is that they deliver my laundry on a platter.
So we've been through all the clothes and the outdoor gear that I brought in the Camino, and minus one outfit that you'll be wearing, the weight of this gear is 1.5 kilograms or 3 pounds. So that's super light, but the fact is you can go even lighter than I did if you really want. I brought 3 shirts, 3 pairs of underwear, and 3 pairs of socks because I hate doing laundry and I wanted to try to only do laundry every 2 to 3 days, and sometimes I would stretch it. But if you only want to bring 2 shirts and 2 pairs of underwear and 2 socks and do laundry every day, that works totally fine too, and you'll probably save a quarter to a half pound that way. So yeah, a lot of people bring sleeping bags on the Camino, but if you're hiking the Camino in the spring or summer, you really don't need it. All you need is a sleeping bag liner, which is much smaller and weighs a lot less than a sleeping bag. This sleeping bag liner weighs about 0.8 pounds. I think it's 0.4 kilograms. And it's just enough to keep you clean and warm at night in the albergues, but there's lots of people in those albergues, which keeps the rooms very warm. I was never cold in just a sleeping bag liner. I never regretted not bringing a sleeping bag, and it saves you a pound or even 2 pounds or a kilogram of weight to not have to carry a whole sleeping bag.
So this is a little stop off in a pharmacy here in a small town on the way to Estella, and they have lots of great blister treatments here. So trying to fix those ampollas, which are that's Spanish for blisters, and see if I can make the pain less painful.
So let's talk about toiletries and first aid. So My toiletries and first aid on the Camino are very minimal, and again, the reason is if you feel like you wish you brought something or missing something that you need, you can totally buy it. You pass a pharmacy multiple times a day on the Camino, so you have no problem supplementing your stuff if necessary, but mostly I didn't need very much. So in terms of first aid in the Camino, there's almost no safety issues that arise on the Camino for the most part, with the exception of blisters. So on the Camino, I brought a bunch of moleskin and a small pair of nail scissors to cut that moleskin and also do other grooming stuff. I also brought a pair of needle tweezers, which are great when you get splinters. I have a tiny, tiny little knife here in case I needed to do other stuff like cut thread or cut cheese or whatever, but it's a very small first aid kit. I put in a single quart size Ziploc bag to keep it organized, and this weighs very little. One thing you definitely should bring on the Camino is a bunch of earplugs. There's going to be a lot of snoring in those albergues at night, and you will thank yourself for bringing earplugs to make it so you can sleep at night. This is my minimal toiletries kit, which fits into a quart-sized plastic bag. Basically, I brought a half-size toothbrush, a travel-sized toothpaste, a travel-sized sunscreen, and then a small bottle of hand sanitizer, a small bottle of ibuprofen or Advil. You'll really want this. Your muscles are going to get sore in the Camino. You're going to get inflamed sometimes just from walking so much. And this just keeps you a little more comfortable if you want to take a couple ibuprofen some mornings to just reduce muscle soreness. So highly recommend that. I also brought a small bottle of body wash and a small bottle of shampoo. The great thing about all of this is, yeah, this isn't enough for 30 to 40 days of walking, but you can buy more and refill along the way on the Camino. There's no reason to carry 30 to 40 days of shampoo or toothpaste at the beginning of the Camino. Just bring enough for the first week and then buy more as you go. I also brought this very small, super lightweight microfiber towel, which is big enough to dry yourself off after a shower. And it weighs almost nothing and dries really quick if you just hang it on the end of your bunk in the albergue. So no need to bring a huge heavy towel. You can just bring a tiny one of these. So let's talk about electronics. I know it's hard for people to be separated from their gadgets, but really the only thing you need on the Camino is a newer model iPhone or Samsung Galaxy phone. This replaces your laptop to stay in touch with friends. It replaces an iPad or an e-reader if you have the Amazon Kindle app or the iBooks app to read books on your phone. And it replaces an iPod to listen to music or audiobooks. And it also replaces a journal because you can take notes on the Notes app on your phone. Now, there's phone service throughout the Camino and Wi-Fi at most albergues, but most people do the Camino wanting to disconnect, and you'll be surprised how little you want to sit on Instagram during the Camino. Just make sure that you don't forget your headphones for your phone, because you're going to really want those to listen to music and audiobooks. Okay, so how do you keep that phone charged? I brought a 6-foot extension cord with a 3-plug multi-plug on the end, and then plugged my phone charger into that. And on the other end of the extension cord, I got an adapter to use for Southern Europe. So the reason an extension cord is so useful is that in albergues, outlets are at a premium and they may not be near your bunk bed. So by bringing an extension cord, you can bring the outlets to your bed, and you have 3 outlets on the other end of your extension cord, which means other people can plug in. It's like you didn't even use an outlet, which is just generous.
It's about 4:30 in the morning, and this morning we're off to Cruz de Ferro, but we're doing it in the dark so that we can see the sunrise. I'm here with Amelia and a man I know only as Sensei.
So the only other piece of electronics, this is the Black Diamond Revolt headlamp. The thing that's great about it is that you can recharge it via USB, so you can use your phone charger to recharge this, which is super useful. The truth is, you don't use headlamps that much on the Camino, but I urge you to do a really cool night moon hike. Some point during the Camino, I did a night hike to see the sunrise at the top of Cruz Ferro, which was one of my favorite parts of the whole Camino, and you really do need a headlamp for that. So if you want to do some really early morning pre-sunrise hiking or night hiking on the Camino, a headlamp is super worth it. Keep in mind that headlamps are really annoying to use when you wake up in the morning in the albergues. They're too bright, they wake everyone up. So you can just use your phone display to illuminate when you're waking up in the morning so you don't annoy other people with your headlamp. So for all my electronic stuff, I put it in a Sea to Summit Ultrasil dry bag. These are super lightweight, so in case it rains and your back gets soaked, you can put all your electronics in this dry bag and you're good to go. Okay, so let's talk about cameras. So, of course, I know everyone wants to bring a camera on the Camino. There's nothing wrong with bringing a camera. And if you're a very adept amateur or professional photographer, obviously bring whatever you want. But for most people who just want to take away lots of great photos and high quality video from the Camino, you don't need anything other than your iPhone or Samsung Galaxy phone, because those phones take amazing photographs and they shoot high quality 4K video. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, but I want to make a really cool high quality YouTube video or film about my trip. And sure, if that's true, if you want to make something that's nearly professional in quality, then you may want to bring something other than your phone. I brought a mirrorless Lumix GH4 on my Camino, but the fact is it weighed too much, it was annoying to carry, and 1/3 of the video that's in my YouTube video I shot on an iPhone. A lot of the time the mirrorless camera was just too big and annoying to use, and sometimes I just put it away, and then I regretted that I was carrying this heavy camera in my backpack. So I urge you to only bring your phone as a camera, because for most people it'll work fine. So if you're serious at all about taking really cool photos or videos of yourself on the Camino, you probably want to bring a lightweight tripod with you that can hold either your phone or your camera. And I brought this lightweight Pedco tripod. It weighs very, very little and is great for setting up shots of yourself. So something to keep in mind if you're interested in kind of bringing your videos and photos on the Camino to the next level. So of course, don't forget to bring your passport on the Camino, and also you're going to need to bring some kind of wallet with a credit card, an ATM card, and a bunch of euros. So there's ATMs all along the way in the Camino, but you don't want to be forced to get cash every day, so you're going to probably want to carry about 200 euros with you at a time. So I know a lot of people get money belts so they can keep their credit cards and their cash on their body at all times. Those are fine. The fact is, I think they're a little bit of extra weight and they're unnecessary. I kept my passport and my wallet in the pocket of my lightweight jacket all the time. So I knew they were always in that jacket. And at night I was usually wearing that jacket to stay warm, so it was with me. And if you're really concerned about theft, you can just sleep with that jacket and your stuff is safe at all times. So every day you'll probably spend about 40 euros. That's 10 to 15 euros for your night stay at an albergue, about 10 to 15 euros for dinner, somewhere between 5 and 10 euros for lunch, and about 5 euros for breakfast. If you do your own cooking, you can save some more money. And of course, if you want to camp on the Camino, you can save money at the albergues, though then you'd have to carry a tent. It's probably not worth it.
So we're right outside Virgen del Camino, and somehow there's 2 routes to the Camino today, and somehow we were trying to follow the alternate route, and we ended up in the middle of nowhere.
I feel like this must be where Tolkien had his inspiration for Bag End.
I've looked at a lot of the Camino hiking books, and this, for me, was the best one. The Hiking the Camino de Santiago guidebook by Anna Dinteman and David Landis. It gives a lot of great advice about places to divert from the Camino, to do something a bit more adventurous, and really gives a good summary of what the best routes to take are on the Camino. So I highly recommend this book. I am so glad that I used it on the Camino.
I got a love that keeps me waiting, 'cause I'm a lonely boy. I'm a lonely boy.
My reason to do the Camino is just meet new people, just want to play some songs for myself and to all the pilgrims. And that's why I've got a got guitar coming with me. It's heavy though.
So you hear people say it's your Camino or walk your own Camino all the time. People bring all kinds of crazy luxury items and personal items on these trips, and it's really fun to see what people bring. I like to bring a deck of cards when I go on walks or hikes because it's a great way to make friends and have fun when you're hanging out at night. So, you know, bring what you want, just try to keep it as lightweight as possible.
So we're here outside Ladigos in the middle of Spain, and we've hiked halfway to Santiago from Saint Jean Pied de Port.
My feet have carried me half across a country. That's quite large, actually. So I'm happy and impressed with myself.
So there's three main things I like about hiking poles. They help you keep a faster pace once you get a rhythm going. They make uphill and downhill a little easier on your knees. And on uneven terrain, they can prevent you from falling. These are Black Diamond hiking poles, but you can certainly buy much cheaper ones that are a little heavier, but they still work great. Some are noisy, so you might want to look for ones that don't make much of a sound when you use them. But besides that, most hiking poles, especially for a walk like the Camino, are pretty similar. I also strap a little bit of duct tape to my poles, both so I can identify them, and also if you're ever in a bind and you need duct tape, well, you have duct tape right on your hiking poles.
So I'm here at the Bodega Sriracha, which is a stop right outside of Estella on the Camino de Santiago, and they have a very curious thing here, which you can see is a wine fountain where people can just fill up whatever they want with wine coming right out of this little fountain here. I could probably fill up my Camelback with wine, although that probably wouldn't be the best idea for me.
So obviously you're going to want to drink a lot of water as you walk across Spain, and water is available everywhere in the Camino, in bars and restaurants and in fountains and towns. But you're also going to want to carry some water with you, and the lightest way to do that is in a 1-liter disposable plastic bottle that you can get at any gas station or grocery store. A 3-liter Camelback weighs 260 grams, a Nalgene 1-liter bottle weighs 180 grams, but a plastic 1-liter bottle from the grocery store weighs 36 grams. So this is super light. Once you get one of these plastic bottles and drink out of it, you're not going to throw it out, you're going to keep it with you, and it's a great way to shave weight and save money.
We've made it to the Cruz de Ferro, which is the second highest point on the Camino. It was a very nice hike coming up here.
So last but not least is carrying a small stone, which I know sounds crazy because we're trying to be super lightweight here. But the fact is, it's tradition that when you get to the top of Cruz de Ferro on the Camino, that you throw a small stone onto the pile, which you've been carrying for the entire Camino to represent the release of the burdens of your life. And it's nice to be able to participate in that tradition, so that's why just grab a small stone, carry it with you on the Camino, and guess what? You get to get rid of that weight when you go over Cruz de Ferro. So that's it. This is all the stuff that you need to walk the Camino. It's super simple, and all the stuff together weighs less than 10 pounds or less than 5 kilograms. If you're willing to drop a day's worth of clothing and a pair of sandals, you can easily get below 9 pounds or below 4.5 kilograms. So highly recommend that you keep your load as light as possible on the Camino, because your feet will thank you and your back will thank you, and you'll have just a much more fun trip. So, buen Camino.
So this is it. This is our last day on the Camino de Santiago. It's happy because we never have to walk again, but it's sad because we never can walk again. Thoughts?
Yeah, what he said.
So this is our last hurrah. We've gone to Finisterre, to the end of the earth. We've been to the lighthouse. And now tonight, we're hiking through the woods here, through these fields, to try to get to a viewpoint at the top of this peninsula. It's a little prickery, but we think there's going to be a great 360-degree view of the whole world at the top of this hill, if we can get there without being stabbed to death by prickers. How are you doing, Amelia?
Okay, now we're not being stabbed to death, and it's so much easier without the peg on.
Well, it's not worth it unless you feel some pain. To the top.